Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first segment of DanceOn TV of 2021. We are so excited and happy to have our guests today. Our show theme is definitely going to be centered around the COVID environment and how everyone sustained their business model and kept their doors open for all their customers this year. We're going to talk also a little bit about the optimism for 2021 and what they got going on, and just share some thoughts and best practices of being a studio owner or an artistic director. Our four guests, because we have three studio owners and one amazing dance photographer, we have Marin Johnson from Forte Studios out of Mount Horeb, Wisconsin. We have the co-owners, Elliott and Donna Marie Ahearn from Diverse Dance Company. And we have our longtime friend, artistic director, Lori Sutton, who runs Dance Development Academy in Francisville, Indiana, with her two daughters, Annalise and Liliana. And then lastly, our friend, longtime friend and New York City dance photographer, Phil Roc, otherwise known as Phil Roccuzzo at home. Welcome, everybody.
Hello. Hi.
Great. So for our first, let's just dive into it. And I think I did some math here, guys, because when you get right down to it, the fact that all of you are sitting in front of me seems to defy all the logic in the world. When we talk about Jenkintown and we talk about Francisville, we talk about Mount Horeb, we're literally talking about a combined population of 12,000 people. 12,000 people. When COVID hit and we saw how it impacted small businesses and obviously the art community so deeply, in theory, you guys should not be here. So Lori, why don't we start with you? How are you sitting in front of me, Lori? How did DDA make it through this terrible time?
By the grace of God, first of all, most definitely. But there's about 4 or 5, people that were really instrumental. So, my daughter Annalise, who's the co-owner with me, she figured out Zoom, because I would have had no idea. Like, I could have figured it out, but she had it figured out. So we took that, after we closed March 13th, we took the 2 weeks off, figured out Zoom. Thank God for her. And then the next step is, okay, are the parents going to go for this? Like, this is a new big deal. Are they going to support us? So we only had 2 months left in our season. So we emailed them and we were like, okay, will you support us for the next, 2 months? We gave them options. Will you support us fully with your full tuition? And we're just month to month around here, and we can't charge that much tuition because we, live in the middle of nowhere. And and our parents don't have a lot of money. So, or would you pay half, or do you want to just opt out? Are you done?
Right.
And I remember the first text I got back from a dance mom, and she said, we're going to support you fully. If you need the 2 months up front, I'll now. And I just bawled. Like, I just cried and I sobbed, because it was such a relief of, I think we're going to be able to make this work. And most of our parents still paid the full tuition, which was incredible. Even our competition team, they supported us fully, and they pay more money. The other thing that was a huge help was Dance Teacher Network on Facebook. Just the giving of, all these ideas from other studios, other instructors about, doing scavenger hunts, reading books on Zoom, doing monthly themes. There's so much information out there that, that was a lifesaver. Like, you didn't have to use your brain as much. Other people were helping you out. And then lastly, our Indiana government, they put rules in place to keep us safe, but they didn't destroy our economy. We were able to open back up in August fully. I mean, we kept, we're keeping 6 foot apart, we're cleaning, doing everything that's happened. So I'm grateful to our government, because if they could have made a different decision for dance and not consider support. So that's what helped us.
Well, Lori, that's amazing. I mean, the trust between the parents and DDA, obviously the transparency that you guys had of options and things, and then, as you said, your local government kind of kept it as open as it can and yet still stay safe, which allowed you to kind of bridge that gap. That's awesome. So Matt and Donna, over to you. Same question, except again, audience. One of the unique things about Matt and Don is they decided to open a studio in the middle of COVID. Yes, they took a very unique approach of combining a couple of studios that were at some sort of crossroads, and just took a look at the pandemic environment and said, well, of course, let's do this. So Matt and Donna, why don't you explain to our audience, how does one open up and continue to keep a studio going in the pandemic?
Well, first of all, we were planning a wedding, and we had to postpone our wedding, and we got our deposit back, and we were working for 2 studios. We were working for a few studios, but 2 in particular. And as soon as the pandemic hit, and as soon as we were forced to shut down, they didn't miss a beat, and we were on Zoom almost immediately. Over the course of that, Donna, we would go to the dollar store, and Donna would put these little bags together, and we would go to the kids' houses and just drop them on the doorstep. And the one owner saw this and really took a liking to our passion. And she one night, and she has 2 daughters that had lung issues, so she was very included during all of this. So one night, Donna's on the phone with her, and very stressful, she says, you guys want a studio? And I'm in the background going, no. Yeah.
Well, I get asked that all the time, Matt. Everyone comes up to me, hey, you want a studio? Of course, why not?
Right. It was, yeah. So the more we thought about it, we're like, okay, we got a little bit of money because we got our deposit back. We had this other studio that we knew was struggling. She was able to retain 30%. So we made a unique approach, and we said, look, we'll do this, but we want to, first of all, you got to work with us on payment. Secondly, we want to bring in this other woman. And thirdly, we're going to change the name because, we want to start our own thing.
Right.
She was 100% on board. She said, absolutely. So we went and we approached who are now our partners, Leslie and Bryn McNichol. And we said, look, we have this unique opportunity. We have a facility that was just built out 18 months ago.
Right.
So it's an asset purchase. We just move in and go, change the logo, and off we went. And so that's how it all came to be, that from the initial offer to the full LLC and signed papers was 43 days.
I mean, that's a credit to you two guys. All right. The will to just drive through. It's almost like you ignored the pandemic, right? It's almost like you said, all right, that's happening here. We can't do anything about it, but I can do something about this.
Right.
That's amazing.
And it was all about the kids. And then we found out that there was another studio about 5 miles away that was doing nothing. The parents weren't getting any feedback or any communication whatsoever. So now there's a group of kids looking for a studio.
Right.
And so we were able to essentially bring 3 studios together and start up. And okay.
the classic overachievers. Let me swing to our friends to the north here. Marin, you had the interesting challenge of, you're not just a dance studio, you're actually a theater and vocal studio, and the restrictions around some of that actually created even more obstacles for you guys to overcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what Forte had to deal with, and how you and your husband Wes kind of got yourselves to February?
Well, great community. We're in a really, really awesome community. We also have a really great team of teachers. And through the whole thing, not one teacher gave us a hard time about anything. They were all just really team players, like, okay, what do we need to do? We'll do whatever you need. And even asking them to do some things, and knowing that I was like, I don't know if I can even pay you. And they were like, that's okay. Which I never asked my teachers to work for nothing. And, and they just, everybody was so great. The acting department, that actually helped us, because a lot of the restrictions didn't, because there are things we can do in acting that aren't considered, it's not like sport or anything. And so some of that was kind of easier. When we moved to Zoom, nothing was easy on Zoom.
Right.
The singing was the hard too, because, with all the, expelling a lot of
Yeah.
apparently droplets.
Yes.
So that made it harder. But really, I think we got through because of a great team of teachers, kind of just the will that we're not stopping, we're going to do something. And
Right.
then a great community who wanted to still support us. And we took the time to, my husband and I split up the names of all our families. He took half, I took half. We took about 3 or 4 days and called each family just to check in
That's
with them,
amazing.
see how they were doing. We didn't make any of it about money. We just wanted them to know that we were thinking about them and hope they're okay. And then as far as tuition went, that was scary, but we didn't know. We just said, if you can still pay your tuition, please do, because we depend on this. If you can't, or if you can only pay a portion, whatever you can do. But even if you're in a situation where you've just lost your job and you can't pay tuition, we still want your kids to come to the Zoom classes.
Right.
We're not worried. We want to all work together and get through this. And I think that actually helped a lot, because amazingly enough, the majority of families still paid their full tuition. And some families who were struggling back then paid us in the fall after we'd taken the amount off their account. They still paid us.
You know what, Marin, what I'm hearing, and I heard it through Matt and Donna and Lori's piece is, as a dance parent myself, we don't know the behind the scenes challenges that you guys have, even in a good environment, right? Paying teachers and paying competitions and cancellations and things like that. And what this pandemic environment almost forced you guys to do is to be very open with how narrow the margins are running a studio are, and the trust that it took you and Matt and Donna and Lori to trust your parents and your customers to say, this is what it's going to take for us to be here when this all goes over, so your kids have somewhere to go. That's a big step.
Yeah, it was scary. I did a lot. I don't normally do video presentations for my families.
Right.
We just do newsletters. But when it came to that, I did about 3 different videos, because I wanted them to hear my voice, and I wanted them to see my face, and I wanted them to know that I was being honest, that I was saying, we do need money to keep
Right.
this facility running, but it's not worth, you guys going bankrupt either, or I don't want your kids to suffer because they're suddenly shut down at home just because you can't pay your tuition. If I'm still doing Zoom, it's not hurting me for you to come
Right.
in. So just
Well,
come.
the transparency and then the inherent integrity and what all 3 of you have done, that tells me why you're still here, why you're still sitting in front of me. Hey, let me just embarrass Phil here with a question. So Phil, as a dance photographer, one of the things, and I know that's not your only genre, but it is one of the ones that you're most well known for. Without having the dance studios, without having all that stuff around, your business struggled as well for a little while, and you had to get inventive. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was very difficult, because typically I don't have a photography studio. I kind of travel around. And so I make use of the dance studios to, work directly with them, use their space, help out their dancers to give them huge discounts, the photos they want. So it all kind of works out. And for the past year, that's obviously been very difficult. They can hardly get their own space to function for themselves, never mind invite a photographer in. So
Right.
that was difficult. Plus in the Northeast, it's difficult with weather. Last summer was a little better. You get outside, you could stay distanced, but you still have the fear that people have in their minds. And so they're still kind of like, photography is not that important right now. We're going to just lay off. So thankfully, I was able to kind of transition my talents into video editing. And so what we did was, dancers were submitting their videos from the safety of their homes using cell phones. The dance studios will give me all of those files, through a file sharing service. I'll put it together with music. And at the end of it, they have a finished piece where all of their dancers are together from the safety of their individual homes. So it was pretty neat. And it brought a lot of things to light for the dance studio. And the dancers, really, because when you look at yourself, when you're alone, first of all, the energy is completely different.
Right.
And so you don't have each other to work off of. And it usually brings out a lot of the flaws or places in which you
Right.
need to improve, right? So when the dancers, I think, were looking at one another on these individual videos, they saw things that they might be able to like, oh, that was really good. I have to do something more like that.
Right.
The dance studios would see it and be like, oh, the timing is way off. Somebody's not getting their count right or not really feeling the music. And so I think it brought some, like a tool almost, not just for presentation, but also
Right.
a tool for them to improve.
And maybe not a throwaway tool, right? I think as we live in this world, look at us, we're in 5 different locations speaking to each other through technology and connecting through a shared experience. So let's switch gears into a little bit more of a positive, optimistic look, and we'll jump around here. Matt and Donna, 2021 is holding what for DDC? What now that we're hopefully the vaccines is becoming a little bit more prevalent, we're starting to see a little bit of ease of restrictions. I know, again, as a dance dad, we're starting to see competitions start to actually land a little bit. What is in the works for your company?
As of now, we're going forward. We're having our recital in June.
Awesome.
We're going to do an outdoor event, just the safest way to go nowadays. We have our first competition in about 4 weeks. We're going to add on maybe a possible 3rd competition because now the kids are hungry for it and they're like, oh, we're working, we can do this. Hey, block schedule, let's go for it. So I'm like, okay, let's go. I was a competition kid. So I'm like, you want it? I want it. Let's just do it. Like,
Right.
You got to keep them engaged and keep them going. And if the parents trust you enough, they're going to keep it going. They're going to keep coming back. Word of mouth. You're going to have more people come in. And, you only can go forward from here. We all made it far. Let's just keep on pushing through. It can only get better. We hope.
I think you certainly don't want to have to go through something like this to have your kids and even your parents feel this emotion. But I think the sense of gratefulness is going to be very apparent on those first competitions and those first recitals. Like, oh my God, especially one who's been a dance parent for 15 years, you kind of start getting a little jaundice to it. And now I cannot wait to see my kids perform and to see all the other kids perform. And I'm sorry, Matt, you were going to say something?
Well, we also have a facility or a space attached to ours that we're looking into expanding into. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Why not expand? Yes.
You're kind of crazy, but
yeah, you guys are crazy. But you know what? With Donna's energy, just plug it into something.
Yeah, exactly.
Forget it.
Exactly.
Hey, so Lori, back to you. I know that both your studio and our studio, I think, competes next week at different competitions. Are you excited? How's Annalise and Liliana and the crew getting ready for next week?
Oh yeah, no, we're super excited. The parents are thrilled. They can't wait. They can't wait to get back. We're going to Bravo and Indy, and they're actually not doing studio blocks, which is shocking.
Wow.
They moved us to the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and so we'll be actually competing against other people. So the parents, even though they like the studio block because you're in and out, they're excited for their kids to get to experience the more of a normal competition, what the old competition season used to be. It still isn't going to be the same, but at least they get to have that normal competition experience as close as we can get. But oh yeah, no, we start at 7 in the and last awards aren't until 10:30 at night. So
those days. Oh my
one
goodness.
of those days though, but that's why the studio blocks are nice because you're in and out. But yeah, and then we compete again on Sunday. But I mean, we're excited. We're not going to complain about it. We're so grateful just to be able to see these kids. And I get stressed. I get stressed out, and and I'm usually an optimistic person, but the 2020 anxiety and the depression. I mean, that was real for everybody. And it is a little bit scary still going into this year because you still are like you're so optimistic and so excited, but what might happen. So trying to get that thought out of your head, of what could go wrong is
and I'm sure Marin will echo the same sentiments, but I know in speaking with all of you, because obviously we talk outside of the television show, you didn't necessarily get in this to be a millionaire, right? You're no, you didn't. You did it because you love it. You want the kids to have a place, and especially because you guys are such a big part of small communities, the expectations and the weights of all those people rest on you, right? It's like you know, you need to will it to happen so they have something to look forward to. That's an amazing amount of responsibility, but you guys do an amazing job. So Marin, 2021, talk to me about what Forte has going on. What makes you smile when you get up?
Well, we've already had 2 shows just in the last month. I know.
That's awesome.
So again, our facility, we can turn our facility into a small black box theater. So so if you guys do end up expanding, if there's any way you can do like a portable wall, that's what we have. We have a portable wall, and then we can open it up, and one side is the audience, and we have risers, and then the other side we have some stage lighting. It's one of the best decisions we ever made. And so anyway, we did a vocal show and an acting show, and everything was virtual. It was a virtual show, but we were able to bring our performers in. With singing, there was a lot of there were a lot of solos. So for their solos, they didn't have to wear a mask. For the group singing, they did have to wear a mask, so that wasn't the same. But one of our instructors, he works for a company called Signal Wire, and that's who we ran the show through. We live streamed it that way, and it wasn't the same as, you know, being in person, but it was a really fun experience that I wasn't expecting, because everybody, well, we filmed everything one week, and then we live streamed it the following week. And when you were on, you could see the performers, but all around the screen, you could see all the audience members.
How
so we
cool.
could watch each other watching the show, and you could watch the singers watching themselves. And then there was a chat on the side. So people were commenting and like, great job, and this, that. I mean, it was a really cool experience. And so, you know, again, I would prefer live, but it's also something I think we'll keep after this for the families who are out of town and can't make it to our live shows.
Right.
And then we have our dance company and our specialty singing company. They're getting ready for a concert. We're going to do that in March, and we'll do it the same way. We'll film it in here, just them, and then we'll live stream it the following week. And then our end of year show is in May, and we're doing an outdoor thing as well with that. And I haven't actually planned it yet, because I don't know what the outdoor guidelines are. So I don't know if I'm going to bring in one group at a time, or if I can do small mini 30-minute shows. I don't know, but we've got that. And then I'm looking forward to summer camps, and fingers crossed in the fall, I feel like we're going to be really close to back to normal, if not back to normal.
Geez, Marin, you're already 9 months ahead looking down the road.
Well, you kind of have to be.
You do. And I'm not always the biggest fan of let's always find the silver lining in a bad time, because sometimes a bad time is just a bad time. But think about some of the things it has for, like thinking about block performances. Listen, I wouldn't necessarily be adverse to that on an ongoing basis, to, you know, not as a paying parent, not have to pay for hotels for 2 days, spreading out 8 dances over 3, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But the use of technology and Zoom, just the opportunity for you to show your parents how much you really care. Not that you don't care every day, but in this time to show how much you were really caring, all of you, with payment options and Zoom and sacrifices of, let's be honest, probably personal finances and things. We know that you guys and your teachers probably dug deep into your pockets to help defray some of those costs. So thank you on behalf of all of us. Phil, give me a sentence or two about your optimism for 2021. You actually landed a big shoot last week, right?
Yeah, I'm actually getting back into the dance studios, that's a good sign. There's a local dance studio. Thankfully, we worked with DanceOn. We were streaming the Carly Ferrara dance masterclass, and through that, the students there, the parents there were interested in photos. They're kind of hungry now. It's been over a year since they've had professional photos done. And so I worked out with the studio that I will be in the studio at the end of this month for a whole day, 8 hours straight.
Awesome. Go for it, baby. All right, welcome back. So guys, as we near the end of the show, I'll put you on the spot here. Give me a sentence or two of what your studio represents and what you hope for the rest of the year. Kind of like a mantra or a line that best describes what you guys are about. And I know that, I didn't prep you for that or whatever, but I'm hoping the spontaneity and the feel that we've created here over the last 30 minutes will give you something, some inspiration. So let's go back to Marin. Marin, if you had to give an elevator 2 or 3 lines to somebody who's riding down with you for a couple of floors about what Forte is all about and why they should be excited to be with you, what would you like to say?
I would like to say that we offer high quality instruction with the goal of, if someone wants to go on professionally or audition and get into a college program, we can prepare you for that. But we also know that not everybody wants that. Some people just want to come in and take 1 class a week, be with their friends, that kind of thing. And so we try really hard to have an environment where everybody feels comfortable, everybody feels welcome. There's something here for everybody, no matter what your goal is or what your ultimate path is. That's the biggest thing that we just want to know. Everybody can dance, everybody can sing, everybody can act, and you have an option for what level you want to take that to.
I love it. Sold. My wife would argue with you on everyone can sing after she hears me, but Matt and Donna, take it away. Tell us about DDC and aside from the fact that you're slowly swallowing up every studio in Pennsylvania, what makes DDC DDC?
I think it just comes down to unity. We want to bring everybody together in the community.
Mhm.
I'm very big on even other studios in our area. We want to help each other. We don't want to have so much competition within our community. So let's help together. Let's come together. Hey, you want to come teach a masterclass? I'll come teach a masterclass for you. Let's just make it one big happy dance world. You know, that's what these kids need to see going forward for their dance.
Well, that's not as somebody who like yourself has been a long time in the dance competition world, that's not an easy thing. Business is business, and dance companies, dance studios can sometimes be very aloof with each other. So what you're talking about is definitely a different feel, and maybe the time is right for that.
Yep.
Yeah. And my old friend Lori Sutton, Lori, bring us home. I know I'm always inspired by your studio. Sorry, in addition to having a little bit of cold, I am getting a little emotional as we get to the end here. I'm always inspired by how DDA plays such a role in uplifting its community. Give us a sentence or two to kind of bring us home.
Sure. You know what we based our studio off of, which we borrowed from a studio where my girls trained in Evanston, Illinois, was from the late Ron Stewart, was, no judgment, only love. That is no judgment of yourself, no judgment of others, and only show love. So we have that put up at our studio. We were grateful to work with them in Evanston, and that's what inspired us. So I think, that's what, and that's DanceOn's philosophy as well. So the world has been so ugly the past few years. All we have is just ugliness out there. I mean, not all, but it's been so much in your face. So what I would like to see, as adults is, we have to show our youth not to bully. We can't be bullies. We can't be saying stuff on social media just because you don't agree with somebody's point of view. We haven't walked in their shoes. I haven't walked in any of your shoes. You haven't walked in my shoes. So how can we judge other people's worldviews? Since we haven't walked in their shoes, but we can have adult conversations about it. And that's why I'm grateful, to DanceOn, because you guys have had these conversations and brought this bullying issue to light. So I just think as adults, we need to pass that on to our youth. So no judgment, only love. That's all you can do.
Well, I will say one of the benefits of running this non-for-profit, which, Mary and I never thought would even last this long, has been to meet people like yourself, Lori, and your family, and the Matt Elliott's and Donna Marie's and the Marin Johnsons and all the people. I mean, it's a blessing for sure. I want to thank everybody for being on today, including the wonderful Phil Roc. I want to thank Marin Johnson from Forte and Lori Sutton from Dance Development, and Matt and Donna Marie from Diverse Dance. It has been an honor and a privilege to facilitate these past 30 minutes. And audience, what I hope you take away from this is these wonderful people and all their teachers and everybody who helps in their studios. They're doing it for you and your kids. And the fact that they have been probably presented one of the most insane obstacles to their business and to your kids' artistic journeys, probably in our lifetime, and are still standing here, is a testament to their willpower, their openness with you and their trust that you'll partner with them. But mostly it's their love of the art form of dance, theater, and song, and their love for your children. Because at the end of the day, we all want to dance on. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye. It was nice to see you.